Welcome to the Productivity Podcast. Delighted today to be joined by Ian Hogg, who is Chairman at Shopworks and FastPay. Hi, Ian.
Hi, Simon.
How are you?
Yeah, good. And delighted to be on the podcast, and thanks for inviting me.
No, you're more than welcome. I won't go on too much about you being a Tottenham fan. I'm sure we'll delve into football at some point on this, but you do have an affection for Leighton Orient as well. You've told me.
I do. I used to live just around the corner from the ground when I was younger, and if Spurs were away, we'd often go along to Brisbane Road, watch some quality football.
Good for you. You're one of my favourite guests before we started, so we're on a good footing. Today's going to be a good one, I can tell. Ian, it'd be good for the listeners to understand a bit more about you, what you've done, and hear a bit more about Shopworks and FastPay.
Yeah, you've been at Shopworks for probably about 4 years now, but the company's been around for about 10. And before that, I was involved in a number of businesses where I owned a retail chain of bookmakers, 50 odd shops. I had a poker club in Chinatown. So I was sort of come out of an operational role, but also I've owned a software business and some others. So I'd say entrepreneur is how I'd like to be sort of remembered. And I was actually the first customer of Shopworks with my chain of betting shops, and also the second with my poker club. The guys there impressed me so much that I did a Victor Kaim and got involved in the company, and I've been there now for 4 or 5 years full time. And Shopworks is you'd call it a traditional workforce management company. It's cloud-based staff scheduling, payroll, time and attendance, that sort of stuff. And we've recently launched FastPay, which is a salary advance app, which aims to sort of remove stress, improve financial well-being for employees. And both of them fit with our sort of, I know you are very strong on purpose, Simon. I've listened to a couple of your podcasts where you've discussed it. So I thought I'd just sort of reflect on ours, which is to improve the profitability of our customers by giving them tools which help motivate and manage their staff. And we feel that both of our products do that.
Excellent. And I know there's a big ethos in the business around kind of practicing what you preach. And today we're going to touch on something that's really topical. So office productivity and the impact of working from home. Yeah. And I know you've got some really strong thoughts, and you've done some really cool stuff with your team during lockdown and as we transition out. In terms of some of the stuff around kind of living out your purpose, I suppose, so practicing what you preach, however you want to phrase it. How does that manifest itself through in Shopworks?
Well, I suppose we've got obviously if we're implementing workforce management or the salary advance app, FastPay, we have a professional service team that are going out and with implementation managers. I'm sure you've come across these guys regularly, Simon, and they spend a lot of time preaching to customers about automating processes and getting away from spreadsheets and integrating systems so that everything's automated. And so a couple of years ago, we sort of had an internal policy, which was, we would only use cloud-based tools. We wanted to use best of breed plugins, wherever possible, automation and self-service, give customers self-service, so that we, one, were reducing our costs and being as efficient as we could, make less mistakes, and also we learn by using other tools how we can make our own tool better. Good and enjoyable journey, and I think we've got some really good use cases actually.
What kind of examples have you got? I think we talked off air about kind of marketing stuff and Salesforce.
So we look across all of them. So you're right, the Salesforce. We've not got a big Salesforce. Our CRM system, for example, it drives our website. It's connected to our email. So if you send an email, it logs the detail against the customer. There's no manual making notes against the customer's record. It's connected to our social media. If somebody clicks to our website, we know where they've come from. We know what their interest is, what pages they visited, track that in our CRM. The system will generate a proposal automatically or semi-automatically. You have to put the numbers in, and it generates reports and all sorts of other information, which means that the sales guys are selling and not running processes. So I think I counted, we've got like 11 integrations into our CRM platform. And that's just sales. We try and apply that approach to all the departments that we have within the company.
A rich wealth of data to help kind of new clients come on board and then make sure that existing clients get a good service from any queries or kind of tickets raised?
Yeah, I mean, so that's a slightly different process, but you're a good question, spot on, Simon. So when a ticket gets raised, that we've got our support desk software is integrated into our. So we use Confluence, Jira, and Jira Service Desk, which software guys would know of. But they're all integrated. If you call our help desk, you end up going to a call center. The ticket gets raised direct. It's integrated into the call center, the third-party call center. A ticket gets raised. The customer can see on a self-service dashboard, the time that it lapsed, the responses, and it automatically generates a report of whether we're meeting our SLA. So if we've got I'm going to get accused of forgetting it, but if we've got a 4-hour response time for a P2, it'll measure the response time, tell us at what percentage we hit that. And so when we're having customer reviews, the customer can get live access to the data. And again, that's a good example of automating a process rather than digging out the data and getting a spreadsheet and putting it into a PowerPoint. Hopefully we're quicker than that.
Good. I mean, that all sounds amazing stuff. And really, I suppose that set you up unknowingly for when the pandemic hit and we all weren't allowed to work. And then we kind of got back into work. But certainly for those office-based organisations, it was either very limited capacity or still working from home. That I assume, all that integration piece, the way it all feeds through and is automated, helped you when actually the office was shut.
Yeah, no, I think most software, in fact, most companies I speak to that are in the sort of, if you like, the knowledge intensive businesses, we're in a similar position. We had 2 or 3 people that didn't have laptops and were using desktops. We bought some laptops and that's it. We were ready to go. A few extra Zoom licenses. So the transition for us was relatively easy, really. Obviously, it's a pretty tough time all round. Particularly for our customers, because our customers are retail, leisure, and hospitality, so they were taking it a bit worse than we were. But we were able to set up everything the next day. The day we decided to work from home, nothing changed the next day.
Are you more productive than working from home? There's lots of articles around. There's a Microsoft one that we both looked at, published in the HBR, Harvard Business Review. There's lots of stuff I see on LinkedIn and online about, I'm so much more productive from home, or I'm so less productive because I've got Netflix on at the side of me and kids running around. What have you seen and how's it felt from a Shopworks point of view?
I think we're more productive on the sort of day-to-day tasks. So I would say, and overall in the period of lockdown, we've been more productive. There's one sort of caveat on that is, and much as I love my customers, when they were all shut and furloughed quite a lot of their staff, they weren't requesting quite so much and weren't quite so as demanding as they normally are. So that you have to sort of take that into account. But even now, they're all back and asking us for lots of lovely changes. We are still more productive. And I think where we are productive is, if we raise a ticket for some new work, that gets specced out. That can be agreed via a Zoom call quite happily. The developer can understand what the requirements are. The team can get on and build it. They can still do their stand-ups. All the agile processes, supported by all the automation we've got, all carry on, probably better than they did do. And I think, the HBR report that Microsoft did, that I think they were showing that, people were logging on to sort of instant messenger and email an hour earlier than average before and staying an hour later, and lunch breaks were more productive as well. So I think they've got a bigger data set than I have, but Microsoft were definitely saying that their teams were more productive, they were doing more work. My note of caution on this would be that we're in the problem solving business. We do a lot of bespoke work for customers, where we'd like to think Shopworks is in the sort of enterprise level, and those are quite demanding customers, and everybody's got a different set of payrolls they want integrated and different way of doing budgets. So we do a lot of bespoke stuff. So we're in the problem solving game. We're in, we're trying to creatively solve problems, and although you might find that the traditional measure of productivity of a developer, for example, might be sort of sprint velocity or number of tickets per sprint, those metrics have improved. But if you're not writing the right tickets and you're not solving the solution correctly, then actually it's wasted effort. So the important thing is that we're not busy fools, and that when we do work, well thought through, intelligent solutions, rather than we're just ploughing through tickets and getting jobs out the door. And so my concern would be that, and the challenge, I think, is how do you make sure that we don't fall into that trap? And I think this is true for any sort of problem-solving, creating business.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that go around my mind when I see all this research on how great working from home is, because Rethink, we don't have offices. The guys work from home, and then we're on site with customers. So I wouldn't say we got there first because it wasn't a race, but it's not new to us. So I think the change for us is not getting out to customers. The change isn't staying in and working from home. I have a strong belief, it's probably the right word. I have a strong belief that 6, 12, 18 months down the line, we're going to see a bit of a pushback, because at the moment everybody's talking about not opening offices. So I think Twitter have said they're not opening their offices again, and everyone can work from home whenever. I think we haven't reached the stage in all of this yet where we understand the emotional side of that and the human interaction side for teams of people. For me, there's always a lot to be said about being in the same room as somebody. There's things you don't see on a Zoom meeting that you see in a meeting room. People glancing at each other, those looks of kind of, I get that, or those looks of, not too sure, which are really, really important in business decision making. As well as, if I spend too much time on Zoom or Teams or Hangout calls, I'm mentally really tired, because all of a sudden cameras are on and they never used to be. So you're conscious of people walking in and out, the dog, the kids, what's behind you. I just think there's some, whether it's emotional or human interaction, there's some need that intrinsically we have to be with people, that I think we've paused for the time being, which may come back and bite us in 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Simon. I think if you were to make a list of all of the sort of difficult to quantify, but then nonetheless high value sort of interactions that go on in an office or in any workplace that add value to the business, they're difficult to measure in terms of sprint velocity, in terms of or number of support tickets that get done, or telephone calls a salesperson makes. Those sort of productivity measures. Again, it comes back to if they're the right calls and we're solving the problems that the customer's happy with, and we're building the right code. And I also think there's a longer term, and I've read an article recently about how do the younger members of the team get development, and they get it in a number of ways, largely from sort of interacting with their peers or their or more experienced members of the team and learning lessons. And I think we're definitely missing out of when we're all working from home. And you wonder how long I think you were just making this point, Simon, is how long before the productivity drops off, because you haven't had that constant sort of mentoring and development of the team, and problem solving, working together. So I agree with you on that.
Again, following on from that, for me, having worked in big offices, small offices, sometimes the magic happens when you're at the coffee machine. Just go, how are you doing? Yeah, well, I'm just working on this. And, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? So it's impromptu. It's not formal. It's just a chat as you're both doing something. But that's sometimes where the sparks happen and the magic happens, and you're like, I wish I'd have thought of that. Or actually nip over to my desk in an hour and we'll work it through. There's a lot to be said for those unplanned bits of interaction that you don't get working from home.
Yeah. Not many people would say that about Zoom, and if you look at, and I know other brands are available, but if you look at some of the sort of habits that have started to occur on Zoom, and we sort of issued some encouraging policies, like make sure that you are on video so that you could be seen eyeball to eyeball, but people going on mute a lot of the time, and then they go to say something, they're still on mute, and then they it's gone now. The moment's passed. They're doing other emails. They've got little alerts coming in the top right hand of their screen. You'll be pleased enough to switch mine off for this, but that can't make the creative process great on Zoom. That's my belief.
Yeah, we're going to end up with a whole new bunch of acronyms, or people being zoomed out or teamed out or hung out's probably not the right one if you use Hangouts. But I'm always acutely aware of, when I'm on these calls, there's always one or two people that don't go on video. And in fairness, some days I don't, because I just think I just can't do another video call. The ones that aren't, you wonder, are they doing emails? Are they on, they're playing the PlayStation at the side of the call? What are they doing? What's their focus and therefore retention of that? And the bit, it's probably only just dawned on me actually talking this through with you, because they're all structured and planned, as in it's in the diary, we know the topic. You might have a bit of light chat at the start or the end, depending on how well you know everybody else on the call, but it's all quite clinical.
Yeah.
You're on, you're off, you're on to your next one. It's just dawned on me that that's the bit which is, you wouldn't go on a Zoom meeting to have a coffee with somebody. I don't think.
No, one thing that I think that has improved as a result of Zoom and the whole lockdown is, I think a lot of people at the start, we switched into crisis mode, and we did, and I'm sure everybody's got their own stories of it. And we said, okay, fine. We were reading articles on how to make sure that we were more productive at home, and also to make sure that we did the best to keep the culture going and the communications going. So we've got some meetings in the diary that never existed regularly, that are quick half-hour catch-ups that are on Zoom. We used to do a monthly company update around the pool table. Now we do a weekly one on Zoom. Okay, and it's that'll stay. So some of these changes that we made will stay, and they're beneficial, and we are better at communicating to our staff because we went through a crisis, and it felt like a crisis at the time, and and that's how we managed it. I think the other one that changed is we've got much better at focusing on outcomes rather than just hours in the office. So the whole being in the office till 10 o'clock at night to impress the boss, that's all gone. And actually we're much better at measuring outcomes now, and whether those outcomes add value to the customer or to the business or to the product.
So what's your view then? You've had some time where people weren't allowed in the office. We're now in a place of where people can do a bit of both, as long as all the kind of rules are adhered to. So looking forward then, what's your view of how office work versus homework will work in your organisation?
Okay, so we've got an office in London, probably about 40 desks, I suppose, 45 desks, and one in Edinburgh where we've got 12 people there, but space for more. And so without being too London-centric, London is slightly different from the rest of the country on this one because of just the tube, and people don't want to go. And it's been said 1,000 times. We've opened our office and we've sort of introduced the concept of team days. So what we've said is, anybody can come into the office, and we've got people that are going, well, I'm going to come in on Tuesdays, or the sales team are coming in Wednesday and Thursday, and the ops team are coming in Friday. So we're still sort of socially distancing. We've probably had more than half of our people come in the office in London, and a much higher percentage in Edinburgh. And that's because you could drive and park in Edinburgh, whereas we all know London's not quite that easy. I was in 4 days this week and seeing different people every day, just because I enjoy the interaction of sticking my nose into a sales meeting and find out what's going on. And the people I spoke to were, they enjoy coming in. There was a lot of, certainly a sort of a feeling that once they'd come in the first time, it was sort of overcoming a bit of a apprehension, if you like, but actually once they got in there, they enjoyed it. They could see the value of some of the stuff that was happening around the meeting. They've scheduled in, regular trips to the office. I think long term, what we want to try and develop is a balance, which is enough time in the office where we can do all the problem solving and the mentoring and the creative stuff that we feel we need to be face to face with, whilst, until a vaccine comes in, whilst we're still socially distancing, and then with more time working from home than we did pre-COVID, following your model, Simon. So, we also think we'll be less on customer sites. We haven't really done, I'd be interested to hear your view on that, but we haven't done many customer visits since it's all been by Zoom. Nobody wants to see us face to face at the moment. And so, I think we'll probably, evolve to a situation where it's sort of about half and half working from home and half in the office.
Yeah, we've been out on site because we've had to look at process with people, so it's been interesting to get back out there. Quite refreshing, quite nice. But our model will stay the same. We don't particularly need an office. The team are set up for it, and we're set up for it because they've all got the equipment they need to do it from home, which has probably been one of the biggest challenges, I think, for some organisations where it was all desktop or all integrated. I think back to my time at Boots, and it was all desktops integrated into the network and only a few had laptops. That transition is really difficult because you've got a big capital investment in kit and make sure your network's secure and all those bits. So probably like you, we're set up to do that and we'll continue to. If we circle back round to the start of the conversation, really, in summary, I think what you're saying you've seen is that people are more productive today working from home, but actually you still recognise that need for human interaction, team development, and the bits outside of structured meetings. Therefore, there's going to be some ways of working in the office that will, I suppose, evolve as we find out more and life evolves. Is that a fair reflection?
Yeah, I think it is. And I don't think we're unique. I've heard other business leaders. The chairman of PwC was saying something similar last week, and a few others. So I think quite a few businesses are coming to that sort of that conclusion.
Brilliant. And in terms of product, without sharing any secrets, what does the future look like for your WFM product? Any exciting stuff coming, or can't you say because it's too new?
Too new. Well, actually, we all listened. It was compulsory listening. The you and Chris Love podcast a couple of weeks ago on the future of workforce management. I agreed on most of it, including the improvement to the comms section of our platform, being more employee focused rather than for the man and just trying to get time and attendance nailed. And we put a lot of effort into our FastPay product, which is a salary advance app, which is all about sort of improving employee well-being, reducing stress. So I think we've got a few other things around that, like trying to get employee feedback off the platform and communications, that we're investing in right now. So that's, you can expect to see that. We're pretty good at calculating how much a shift costs, checking it against budget, and getting into a payroll file. We need to move on to onto making sure the staff are happier. And I suppose the only other major thing is we recently signed a deal with Scottish Enterprise. So the Scottish Government have given us a rather large grant to develop some artificial intelligence to try and solve the whole auto scheduling and shift filling functionality using artificial intelligence. And I noted that on your podcast where you was reflecting the industry's view, which I 100% agree, which is the older fashioned algorithms struggle to get decent auto scheduling without upsetting the staff, to be honest, and getting people in the wrong place where they don't want to be. So we're going to have a stab at that with our Edinburgh team. We've got some data scientists up there that are very bright, and you watch this space.
Amazing. I look forward to seeing those things come through. And if we can break that historic mold, there's some clear opportunity for kind of providers and for people using the solutions to move things forward in, I'd say, probably seismic chunks. And we're not talking small steps here. These are going to be big leaps, I think, when this stuff starts to work as the modern generation want it to work. And that's the key thing. So look forward to those. So a couple of closing questions then. Tottenham, how are they going to do this season?
I think they'll be all right, but I'm not sure. It'll probably be a good thing that we can't all go in the stadium and have to watch it, because the last 10 games of the season were a bit like pulling teeth. Spurs fans, and obviously the lockdown was not a good thing, but from a football point of view, we were pleased to have the break, I think, and regroup. And when we came back, we were still we weren't a great watch, but I think that they'll be grinding out some results, conceding not too many goals, and probably come fourth or fifth, I would say, next year.
And Mourinho still be there by the end of the season?
Yeah, he seems to have calmed down a bit. Whether he goes back to it next year or not, I don't know. So that one I don't want to predict.
And Harry Kane, he'll still be there at the end of the season?
Definitely. He's one of our own.
Well, we grounded him for you and then we gave him back, so we'll take some credit for it. Last question then. So what's the best bit of business advice you've ever been given?
Am I allowed to have two that are very closely aligned?
Of course you can. Go for it.
Okay, so the first one, and I can't believe somebody hasn't had this one already, but it's recruit people smarter than you. I think somebody taught me that, and I learned it the hard way early on in business, and it's something we've always tried to do at Shopworks. So, we're 50 odd people now, and I suppose I'm pleased to say I'm no longer in the top 40 for brightness in the company, because we've got lots of bright people that we've brought in to solve problems for us. And I think if you don't do that, if you are trying to still be on the top and sort of control everything by being the brightest, then you've limited the growth of the company to your own sort of ability. So that would be my number one. And there's a sort of slight variation on that, which, I'm ex-military quite a few years ago, but one of the things that the military taught me is that you have to recruit leaders at every level. So, if you think a corporal in the middle of Afghanistan with 10 soldiers has to make a decision on their own. They have to be a leader, and that needs to go all the way up the organization. And I think, if you've got smart people and then add in the fact that they've got leadership, and for us, that means sort of not being swayed by difficulties and having the resilience and the strength to keep working through problems until they're solved. If you've got those in every team, then I think you'll have a good business. And if they're bright people, they'll come up with good solutions. So it's sort of two, but I think they're related.
No, I like those. No, really good, really good. And final bit then, so if people want to find out more about you, solutions, just have a general chat, then they can find you on LinkedIn, yeah?
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn, Ian Hogg and Shopworks. I'm sure if you search that, it'll come up, and I'd love to hear from people and talk to them. Or, www.theshopworks.com. Awesome. So I'm sure people will be in touch. Listen, it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed this one, not least a football chat, but I think it's really topical. Well, one question.
There's a lot of stuff we don't know.
You've got to reciprocate something. What about Orient? Where are they going to come next year?
Mid-table. We're too good to go down. I'll probably eat my words on this one, but too good to go down. I think that league's really strong. You've got Salford spending a lot of money. You've got Bolton who've come down who's spending a load of money. You've got financial fair play that's coming, but I don't see how they fit into that mould. So then I think that's going to be interesting. Mid-table, if we eke in the playoffs, good season. I think the season after, when financial fair play really settles in, it'll be more of a level playing field. There's too much money flying around from a couple of big spenders in our league. You never know in football. Sometimes it's the power of the team, not the money you put behind it that makes the difference.
But leaders at every level, that's what you need.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, it's been a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you very much, Simon.